The Nets are completely imploding right now as we speak, which is something that I've been saying, I've been preaching. Now, of course, this doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to end up trading Kyrie or anything like that, but it's looking more and more likely. They just fired Steve Nash, which, not a big deal. It was kind of something that's expected. Coach is usually the first one fired anyway when you're trying to retool.
I'm upset by that. I don't like that.
I don't like it either. I don't think – I mean, a lot of people feel like he didn't really get a fair shake. Look, I don't think he was like, Phil Jackson out there as a coach, but I mean, the problem is they didn't give him a lot of power. They gave Kyrie and KD so much power. From day one, all the conversation about how we don't need a coach and blah, blah, blah. Like, how does that feel, Steve Nash? Steve Nash said he lost, like the guys aren't responding to him in the locker room. And it's like, what do you expect? You knew that was going to happen because Kevin Durant told you he wanted Steve Nash fired. And he decided not to fire him in the offseason when you should have fired him. If you were going to fire him in the offseason. What did you think was going to happen? Everyone's going to come back and everything kumbaya? Like Sean Marks and Joe Tsai are just, I don't know. Like they don't have their thinking caps on or something because it's just, or they love it. As much as they try to say like they want the conversation to be about basketball and they want all of their actions show otherwise. They're literally talking about hiring Ime Udoka, who I think is a great head coach. Don't get me wrong, nothing against him coaching, but he is coming off of some serious allegations, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up, YouTube. We can't get too heavy into it just because it is pretty, I mean, from what we've heard, it was pretty bad. Started out as hey, mutual relationship, however you feel about the morals of, him having a fiance, which is Nia Long, by the way, my childhood.
Yeah.
Nia, like, how do you?
I know. When I heard the name Nia Long, I was like, wait, this takes back in the day. Wait, what?
He must not listen to J. Cole.
You know what's so funny? All right, so about I think a week after this happened, I was just jamming casually, but that song came on, the J. Cole song came on with that line. I was like,
my biggest regret is seeing Nia Long.
Yeah. And I was like,
yeah, like I love that. But shout out to J. Cole, man. But
right.
Yeah. So anyway, however you feel about the morality of it, whatever. It's his personal life. If it's mutual, I don't have a problem with it. But then we got all the reports that it wasn't mutual. Well, with her, what the original girl was.
Well, yeah,
but
exactly.
There were multiple people that he was harassing and
the owners or the presidents. I think the president's wife or something like that. Yeah.
It was it became a whole thing. Even people that stuck up for him in the beginning, like Matt Barnes. He was a huge advocate for him in the beginning. And then Matt Barnes came out. He was like, I was so wrong. He was like, I found out what really happened behind the scenes, and it is much worse than what everybody knows. And this is a guy that
the details, they won't release what really details. I'm sure we'll find out eventually, but
yeah, but I mean, I don't blame them. They just wanted this to be done and over with. They suspended him for a year, hoping that he would just, that all of this would brush over. They could let him go, all that stuff. I mean, and now all the talks are that the Nets want him, and the Celtics. This is a coach that just led this team to the NBA Finals in his first year, and the Celtics are willing to just say, "Here, go ahead, take him. You want him? Sure." Usually, teams have to trade. Like when the Clippers got Doc Rivers, for example, they had to trade for him. They had to send a first-round draft pick to the Boston Celtics to go get Doc Rivers. So it's like usually when a coach is under contract, it's a trade just like a player. And they didn't end up doing. They're willing to just let him walk, obviously for a reason. And the reason I say that this goes into the whole obviously these guys like the drama, like the attention, is because going through all this controversy with Kyrie and him posting that book and movie and whatever, I'm not familiar with the book or the movie, so I can't really speak on it. But whatever it is, he posted that, all that drama, all that attention, negative attention. You already have the whole offseason that was an absolute disaster. It's just you have just one shitstorm after another, and now you're going to go hire Ime Udoka to come in as your head coach. And what do you think the conversation is going to be? Because he hasn't addressed any of it. He hasn't talked about any of it.
Well, no, and he's added controversy at that point when he comes to the organization. Talk's not going to be about basketball. It's going to be about his personal life and his actually not so personal now, but his decisions he chose to make surrounding on and off the court. Now, I do think, though, they're looking at it as hey, we want to win, regardless of the controversy. But I think when you have too much controversy surrounding that organization, like you said, it's already too much. Already too much. Like Kyrie, and not to mention Kyrie happened to, by him doing that, he kind of he messed up a lot of relationships. So like
Yeah,
he's affecting the revenue of the organization now. So like I mean the front row, like the seat holders that are the front row, there's so many of them that like he directly like offended, and so it's a mess. It is a
it is.
mess.
It's a mess. And like, and look, like, here's the thing. At the end of the day, like, obviously, winning basketball games solves a lot, right? Like, if Ime
Yeah,
Udoka comes in, they'll deal with the little headache. If they win the championship, by championship time, no one will care. It's just how the world works. You see it all the
yeah.
time with athletes and organizations and stuff like that. Winning cures all. But
Oh
here's
yeah,
the
it's
problem.
gonna be like you're gonna forget about it. Or a lot of people are gonna forget
Yeah,
about it if they win.
yeah, and because it'll be in the rearview mirror at that point. But not just that. The problem is that like I still think it's too late. Like even
Yeah.
if Doku, because look, they fired Steve Nash, and the Nets played just as bad that day. Like usually when you fire a coach, the team rallies together and they get that win to show, yeah, the coach was the problem. It happens almost every time. And you know what happened? Nothing. And it showed exactly what all the problem is. Steve Nash wasn't the reason that they can't play defense. Wasn't the reason that they don't have
Well, he's not a
rebounding.
scrub. You know what I mean? Like he's not a
Yeah,
scrub coach. He's just the thing is it's his first job as a head coach. You know what I mean?
and
And
he
your
and he got
first job,
thrown into a
you got a
shitstorm.
well, that's what I'm saying. You have a headstrong Kyrie. You have a Kevin Durant, but I feel like Kevin Durant is feeding off of what Kyrie like his vibe right
Kevin
now. So
Durant
like
doesn't want to be there. That's the problem.
yeah, and there's that too. So I'm like, you kind of got thrown into like, you know what I mean? You didn't really. It's not like Steve Kerr where he walked into like hey, we're on our way to the championship. Everybody's bought into the culture. You know what I mean? Like when Mark Jackson left the Warriors and like Steve Kerr had to come in. So it's not like that type of a situation. So I don't really agree with putting a lot of the blame on Steve Nash. I get it, like some of his like defensive philosophies and his schemes weren't necessarily the best for the team. But the thing is, again, first year as a head coach, you got to give him time to develop. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
know if that's. I think he will get definitely another coaching job if he hasn't already.
I mean, I think
But I
I
don't.
think he will sooner or later. What'll probably happen? He'll probably get an assistant job somewhere and then
Yeah,
work his way back up, and then somebody will give him a shot
because
again.
I don't think
Because
he's a bad coach. He's not like
well, a lot of people have
a
came to his
Monte Ellis
defense.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have came to even Steve Kerr was like, he's a really good coach. Steve Kerr was like, I couldn't even have fixed that situation because people don't understand how bad the situation is in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that. You think Steve Nash was upset that he got let go? Hell no. That dude was probably popping bottles in the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Like that was probably the happiest he's been in so long. And the reason I say I think it's
And
too
he
late for the
exploded the
Nets.
other night on the sideline. Did you see that?
Yeah,
The tech?
yeah, yeah. Because I'm
He
telling, yeah,
lost
I
his
mean,
mind. Like I was like, "Hey, Steve Nash, the player is
yeah.
back."
It's just the thing
That was
is
him
that
on the
like
court, but
it gets toxic after like how long can you deal with it? You have an entire locker room that doesn't want you. You have all this headache, all this time. It's a mess. And like the thing is that like even Ime Udoka, even if he comes in, he's not gonna he'll be able to fix some stuff. He'll be able to get people to buy in, all that stuff. But one, you're gonna have to deal with the controversy that comes with that. And however long that lasts, maybe it's quick and it's like a week or whatever, and then you move on, or
yeah,
it's the entirety of the season, like we're gonna see with like we seen with Kyrie and KD. The problem is that no coach is gonna fix Kevin Durant wanting to get out of there, Kyrie Irving being Kyrie Irving, guys not being able to play defense because we don't have any defensive guys, Ben Simmons basically becoming a shell of himself, not being able
yeah,
to rebound. Like, no coach is going to be able to fix the Brooklyn Nets issues. Maybe some of them. And the biggest problem is they don't have time. Like, the thing is that, like, so for the Lakers, for example, right?
yeah,
The Lakers, they have LeBron James, Anthony Davis for the next like 2-3 years. So they
yeah,
have time to try to get it right to win a championship or two, right? You got Darvin Ham. He's your coach for the next 3-4 years. You got
yeah,
you got your structure in place. Problem is that they bring in Ime Udoka. Kyrie Irving's still leaving. So you still
yeah,
probably going to have to trade Kyrie Irving. if you trade Kyrie Irving, is Kevin Durant going to want to stay there? Like, the problem is you don't have the time. You don't have the time to wait around to try to build a foundation with Ime Udoka coming in, and he's changing the scope of things, and he's, you know, molding this team into the way he wants it to mold. By the time he figures it out, everybody's gone. And now he's going to do it all over.
They're not bought in. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, even if everybody buys in for the rest, let's say they're all like, we'll ride it out the rest of the season. We'll buy in, and we'll just, you know, we'll buy into Ime's philosophy, and we'll try to do what we can this year. You got this year, and that's it. And this is what I've said from day one. They have one shot